What is the best multiclass in Baldur's Gate 3? So, hello everybody, in this video I'm gonna tier rank all the different good multiclasses. If you like the video guys, please subscribe, press the like button, it helps the channel. And I want to go into two major points before we talk about the tier list. It's important to understand, I said immediately, that many multiclasses are utter trash. Right? So if anything that I want you to take away from this video is that you cannot multiclass most classes, okay? Many classes cannot be combined at all. I made another video about that last week. I talked about a little bit of the different level thresholds, like when should you multiclass. For example, if you're playing as the fighter at level 2, you get action surge, which is very good for everyone. So there's a lot of classes that can combine with Fighter 2, like Fighter 2 Wizard 10, Fighter 2 Sorc 10 and so on, right? And some more stuff. That's pretty common builds. You can also, for example, look at Paladin that has their aura at 6, right? And they have the second attack at 5 and so on. That is a huge thing too in the game as well, right? Like when do you get this different threshold like class, right? But anyway, let's go into the tier list. So here we have all the classes, right? As you can see, the game has a huge amount of different combined classes, right? Like there's so many of them. But I think, I said before again, right? It's important to understand that most are actually trash. This is trash, this is Barbarian now, yeah. So in this context, this is trash, right? But most combination of classes aren't very good, right? I said earlier, say it again, just really emphasize. Most good combinations are the class that have the same stat, right? And I mentioned this last week, but I'm thinking here now, with this list here, we will start, right, by discussing the best classes, which I always find more interesting. Like, who cares what is the worst class? I want to guess the best class, right? And then maybe I will delve on some of the worst picks as well. But I think that if we start by talking about the 3-4 best combinations per class, and we go Bear, Bard, Druid, or per class, and then whatever, the rest is trash. Right? The other 50 combos are trash, right? But let's go by class. So I'm thinking it's easier. So let's start with, of course, Barbarian, which is the first class. This is the axe. That's just basic Barbarian there. This symbol here is Artificer class. But anyway, so we don't have that one. So we have Barbarian. Now, this here is Barbarian Fighter. I'm sorry if the symbol is that good, but that's a fighting symbol in D&D. Okay. So, Barbarian Fighter, guys. That's a pretty strong combo. And this is my call as playing my later playthrough. So basically, right, you can play them in different ways. Actually, I think that this class combo can have different kind of levels, what you actually prioritize. But basically, the idea is that Fighter has a lot of extra attacks, right? So it's like Fighter level 3 especially. Then you have the different maneuver attacks and this thing, and you can hit a lot, right? Then you play Barbarian at 5 or higher. So now you get the Frenzy, then you do 2 attacks, and then you do the Fighter Tig, and then you do 2 more attacks, and you can do 6 attacks, and then you have to take a rest spot. But it's you can basically just massacre 2-3 enemies before the fight's basically the first turn, right? It's very powerful. You get a huge amount of attacks. And obviously, Fighter Barbarian, as they're both strength characters, they go hand in hand, right? It's one of the obvious combos, right? Fighter Barbarian, yeah, it's very obvious. So it's good. It is the most straightforward combo for Barbarian. Now, the best combo for Barbarian, perhaps, or rather Druid, depends on what way. This is Barbarian direction outpost, but the best combo, arguably, for Druid in the game, so I want to pick Druid instead then, is Druid Axe. It's so many icons, I'm sorry, there it is. This is very powerful, guys. Druid Barbarian, right? So I'm going from that direction now, but yeah, Druid Barbarian, extremely powerful. So of course, when you transform into an animal in the game, you can't use any spells, right? When you are the Owl Bear, you can still jump, and you can do the earthquake thing, but there's fighting skills, right? You can't really use any whatever moonbeams or whatever, right? So Barbarian and Druid is fantastic. I would say this is the best Druid spec in the game, more or less. It's straight up probably the best Druid multiclass. Honestly, this is probably the only multiclass that I think you should be as Druid. I think the Druid benefits more for not multiclassing most of the time, but this is like the only one that's really good because, yeah, basically, right, you turn into an animal, but you still have the Frenzy or the Rage, but usually, okay, specifically, you want to be Frenzy Barbarian level 3, right? So, yeah, so you want to be like 9-3 Druid, and just like, you know, be a Frenzy animal. It's very, very powerful. You take less damage when you're raging, right? So you less damage, massive health pool as the whatever animal you are. It's extremely powerful actually. Probably arguably one of the best tanks in the game. Probably best like health pool tank. Yeah, got a huge amount of health pool and so on, right? And just point out then, it is much better if you're, you know, higher level Druid, right? That's why I changed the symbol that it's Druid first instead of Barbarian, because the animal form as a Druid is based on your Druid level, not in your total level. So that's also a reason why Druid isn't very good for multiclassing, right? Because if you multiclass, yeah, your animal form gets weaker, right? So you get less, you know, health and so on. So that's very powerful, but of course, Barbarian gives you that rage reduction damage, so that doesn't really matter. I mean, yes, you have slightly less health point, but you get, you know, way less damage taken, so it's better. And again, that you can combine. So this is one of the arguably the best actually multiclass in the game. And again, I think the only really good one for Druid. You can also play like Cleric, come to later, but basically. But then I say Barbarian Druid or Druid Barbarian, very powerful. But I guess it's like Druid Barbarian. I guess it's better being higher than Druid. Another pretty good class is Barbarian Rogue. Now I think I find it's weaker than Barbarian Fighter, but it is pretty okay, right? Because you know it's kind of similar to an Druid Fighter, so you have more attacks on, right? So the Rogue works, right? You stealth attack them, but then you use it as a barrier. You can kind of throw them. You can combine that with the different barrier throws and so on. But I don't think it's as good as the Fighter one. But it's like decent, you know. It's decent. It's not the best, right? I think it's not good. It's like an okay combo. Barbarian Rogue. It's pretty okay. I mean, it's definitely way weaker, I think, than like Druid Barbarian, which is much better. So, but I think it's like fair. Like it's playable, okay. I mean, compared to like Barbarian, I don't know, Wizard, that is terrible, yeah. Like, so you have to think about it. You have to, in comparison to trash like Barbarian Wizard or something like that, you know. Barbarian Bard is decent. It's probably on the level of like, yeah. So Barbarian Bard works pretty good together actually. So you have this fight Barbarian, right? You can buff the others. You can have the, especially if you play, what's it called again? The Bard Fighter version. Whatever that one's called, like, or Lords of Swords? Oh no, Valor, Lore of Valor? I can't remember what it's called on the subclass, but yeah, the subclass that's a fighter one. The subclass that makes you better at fighting, yeah, it's pretty good. It's not like fantastic, but it's like somewhere up there. Yeah, it's like the, like maybe it's not, no, it's definitely better than Rogue, but it's not like, it's not like this, but maybe this is like, maybe, okay, yeah, this. Okay, this is a bit better. What more do we have? The Barbarian Paladin is like okay, right? You get pretty tanky. Doesn't stack very well with how they work though, because you know the 75 is fast boss, but it's like Paladin, heavy armor, doesn't have the Barbarian, but you can still rage. You know, it's like a tank. You can play this pretty tanky. You can like rage with the Paladin. It's not super good, but I think it's like playable. This is kind of like maybe it's like here. It's like no, yeah, it's like there. This is not like super good combo either. Like I said, I think that the Barbarian is like, yeah, the Fighter is the obvious good. So like I said earlier, right, I'm just imagining every race is trash, right? I'm not gonna pull in, you know, like Warlock Barbarian as trash. Yeah, it's like whatever, that's trash. So let's go on then. Let's talk about Bards. So the Bard, you have the obvious combo, of course, for Bards are Paladin, right? Now I can't see the symbol. There it is. This is a good combo. It's probably roughly the same level as the one. This is, again, the most obvious combo. I keep saying it, but I really think so, because mentioned earlier, right, you can look at primary stats. Okay, so Paladin are on Charisma, right? Bards are on Charisma. So yeah, if you combine these two, you get like a pretty good Paladin or Bard, right? And the difference is that a pure Paladin has a little more damage, maybe, depending on what kind of Bard you suppose. A little better late stuff, but then this is actually, arguably, I would say that this is a better build, Bard Paladin or Paladin Bard, whatever. is better than being a pure Paladin, because the supportive stuff you get from being, getting from being a Bard is really good. You obviously shouldn't be, I guess a bit different, is it should obviously be like a defensive Paladin, right? So you have the devotion, auto devotion, and obviously like supportive Paladin. If you play like an Oathbreaker or a Vengeance Paladin, yeah, then this is a wicked combo, right? Then you'd rather be like, for example, Barbarian or whatever, probably a little more Fighter, it's even better. For more damn up with that. But if you're more like the face Paladin and a supportive Paladin, then this combo is actually probably better than pure Paladin. Like a pure defensive Paladin. This is better. And obviously, Paladin or Bard are the two best classes, right? For of course facing, right? For NPC interaction. So if you combine this multi-class, you get all the options basically, right? For all the NPC stuff. So this is one of the best combos in the game, probably, straight up. It is definitely the best combo, probably. I think more or less, definitely for NPC stuff. I can't think of any other multi-class that is better for face rolling. It has to be this multi-class basically. So that alone makes it pretty powerful, right? I would argue for that it's pretty powerful, but they actually do definitely work together. I mean, honestly, I think it's probably up here. The more talking about it, yeah, because it is probably the best NPC multi-class. And then you do actually have like a pretty good synergy with the whole, I can heal you, I can, aura you, defend you. I can also, do some other buffs with the Bard stuff. So it is like probably one of the most simplistic combos that really works. So Sorcerer's Bard, I mean, it's pretty okay. I don't think this is fantastic, but it's also playable. I think it's in the playable pile, right? I mean, obviously it goes on the same logic that they both have charisma. But they don't really fit that well together, I feel. What you can do is you play, I try this thing, it's pretty okay. So you play like Sorcerer, right? And you play like the haste build Sorcerer, where you're mostly like buffing the other guys with hasting them, right? Like you play like the supportive Sorcerer, so the twin cast, give 2-1 haste, and you play the Bard as well. So you kind of like, first I play my music before the fight or whatever, right? And I haste you and so on. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm kind of a buffer guy. It's okay. I don't think it's super good, but it's like, again, I feel that's like one of the playable. I think it's porting about that the rest are trash, yeah. Comparably, it's like, well, it's much better than like Wizard Bard and so on, I would say. That being said, I mean, similarly, the Warlock Bard is also, like pretty okay, right? What is it? There it is. Yeah, with the eye thing there. I would say it's worse than Swords, though. Yeah, definitely. I think it's better. Like I said, the Paladin is like the natural fit, right? And then the other two charisma guys are like, I guess it's okay, I guess. Yeah, but I probably put the Warlock probably like that, yeah. It's like playable. Then there are some other combos with Barb that are more interesting. So you can play like the Barbarian Fighter, right? For kind of like the Ecafall trade. So you play the fighting Bard. Similar, you can play the Bard, how to say it? I guess like the Rogue Barb, also them with the fight play. But I don't think those are very good. Okay, I don't think it's useful. I think it's like, I'm just like, why would I be that when I can be like, Fighter Barbarian? It's much better to be Fighter Barbarian than like Fighter Barb. So I don't think it's very useful. It's just like a worse physical combination. So yeah, I'm not gonna. They're basically trash. They're less trash to some other stuff, but they're like trash-ish. Yeah, I don't care. They might be in there, but I don't care about that. And I already had, Barbarian Bard, right? So let's keep going now. So Cleric has two obvious combos, or it's a pretty good combo. So it works in either direction for different points, right? So you do is take the Cleric plus the Monk. Okay. The reason why is because the Monk is actually also scaling on the Cleric's primary wisdom stat, right? So normally you can't really like combine that, right, with Cleric otherwise, except with Druid, we'll that later. But it's kind of hard otherwise. But Monk actually uses Wisdom for like the, like armor thing. So you actually get really tanky, right, if you're playing as the Cleric Monk team. Because you actually like, you get a really high Wisdom. It helps your, whatever, healing spells, whatever. And then you also have your armor up. And the Cleric can wear pretty heavy stuff. You can have shields, whatever, and it's different ways you can like, make it up, you know, with the monk. Obviously, being you have to have no armor, but you can have some other stuff. Say it counts, so it's a weird game. Looks at that. But anyway, so this is a very powerful combo because I think that they work either way. And what I mean with that is that you can either play 2 monk, 10 cleric, right? So you're very, very heavy on the cleric. This is like super defensive. You basically have a cleric that is harder to defeat than a normal, like 12 cleric. You will lack like you know, the last spell, right? The last ability in the game, basically. But you get way harder to kill. You also get a little bit of that monk skill strat. That's useful. But you basically get very, very hard to defeat you. So you're like a super tanky cleric. And cleric are pretty tanky anyway, so this makes a cleric like super good at surviving. So when you can stand in the front, use your guardian stuff, you know, you can do damage and so on. So you can play kind of aggressively, but still like a very supportive, tanky kind of character. And otherwise then, of course, you should probably go like 10 monk, 2 cleric. And in that case instead, right, you are still relying on the same thing that you're playing the cleric monk thing, so you get extra wisdom and so you get really defensive, right? But now instead of course you're an aggressive monk, right? So you do more damage. That's kind of that. Yeah, the higher monk is of course more like a DPS monk, right? With the cleric benefits, and the other way around is like like the healing, right? So these are both playable. They're both pretty strong. Like I said, I think this is probably the best combo for cleric. Either of them. Like number 1, number 2 probably. Cleric doesn't have. I don't think cleric has any other good multiclasses. They have 2 other ones, but I think it's the only good one, honestly. That being said, which is the best one? It's probably the defensive cleric. That's like let's say this is defensive, right? So the cleric symbol first there. It's like, no, that's more cleric, less monk. And then I would take, you know, more monk, less cleric. Worse, I wouldn't. It's probably over here. It's definitely weaker, but it's not like. Yeah, okay, let's say it here. It's like not the same tier as like defensive cleric thing, healing, going front is better. So I think this one definitely better. 10 clerics better than 10 monk, but they're both definitely playable. I mean, it depends on your team as well, right? You can kind of, I want more DPS. This is a better build, so a little bit of a team synergy, right? The other 2 cleric stuff that are like decent is of course the obvious one, Cleric Paladin. But I think it's pretty bad, honestly. So Cleric Paladin, right? I mean, what can I say? Obviously, you know, you're playing the healer. Paladin is already a healer, so now you get a bunch of healing spells. You're quite defensive, you know. I mean, it's so obvious, right? Yeah, you're playing like 2 healing classes together, so you're obviously super tanky now. It's very, very supportive. But honestly, I think this one is probably worse than just being a paladin. Like, it's pure paladin, I would say it's better. Pure cleric, maybe also better. Yeah, I don't think this class is very good comboing. But sure, if you go to like 6 paladin, you get auras. So then you have like it's probably like 6-6, right? Yeah, you want to have like 6 paladin, 6 cleric. Maybe you can have like 7-5, maybe that's better. 7 paladin, 5 cleric. That is probably better. Depends a little bit, I guess, if we pass it. But whatever, yeah. It's like it's like playable, right? It's playable compared to like, I don't know, Cleric Ranger or something. That's trash. Yeah, that's what I mean, you know. I said it earlier, but basically nothing gets up here or trash, right? Yeah, like more or less, right? Like if you take what is like Cleric Rogue or so on, that's really terrible. I mean, this is like, you know, utter trash, right? Yeah, this is so trash. Like, so comparable to that, it's like, well, it's pretty playable, yeah. Lastly then, for Cleric, we have Cleric Druid, which is also pretty meh. I don't recommend it either. No, other people like this thing, but it's like, you know, super healer, yeah. Now, you know, you have... This is like worse than basic Cleric. Honestly, most multiclasses aren't that good in the game. They aren't. They're fun. It's fun to multiclass. It's more math. It's more min-maxing. But it isn't that good because, like, basically, as a Cleric Druid, you are gonna miss out on the best spells, right? For either a class, right? Like the best Cleric or the best Druid spells. Instead, you have a bunch of, like, weaker spells. A little bit of their passives, or like the base stat values. So it's probably like a worse healer, or, you know, some lack of motive. The benefit, though, I guess my Cleric example, is the animal form. The animal form does give you the extra health and so on. So it makes your cleric way tankier. It definitely does. It still does. Even if you don't get that many levels in Druid, just being able to take another form, take another damage and so on, it will like make you survive sometimes. So it isn't like completely useless. I think the other way around is definitely worse. You know, Druid to Cleric, that's probably way worse. Yeah, because then you already have the tank in it. Yeah, like if you Druid into Cleric, you're basically just gaining a few healing spells. You know what I mean? A little bit guidance, a little bit of that blessing. But it's like some buffs, some healing spells, not very useful. But as a Cleric, you at least get more survivability, so it has some value. But I think straight up probably that, you know, just being a Cleric is better. You know, this is probably where maybe we should write in here that this is like, you know, weaker compared to long time. Weaker compared to pure class. Yeah, I would say so. Like it's playable, but it's weaker than pure class. This is like, I guess the same, roughly speaking. And you know, like yeah, like Rogue Cleric, it's like terrible. Yeah, that's unplayable, right? So everything else is unplayable. Yeah. In the end of the video, I guess it's like this being like, oh, this is unplayable. Yeah, like this is trash too. Yeah, like. But honestly, yeah, like you can think about this, right? Maybe I'm a little bit harsh now and pissed on something, but whatever, you know, like who cares? This is basically what we do later in the video, right? This is all trash. Okay, so this is really good, right? I mean, this is like one of the. I mean, honestly, if you're not doing this spec, you're an idiot. I will say it here immediately. Let me take the camera here. Guys. This is like now I'm making a point, okay? Now I'm making a point, baby. If you're not multi-classing your rogue, you're not a good player, okay? You're a moron, yeah. You don't have to multi-class in Baldur's Gate 3. I think that most classes are basically kind of almost weaker if you multi-class them right. Most of them are, or like 50-50. But for rogue, rogues are pretty weak late game. Rogues start out pretty good, easy to start in the beginning right? Then they're pretty weak mid game, but they actually are very powerful if you combine them with the Gloom, Stalker, of course then the Ranger, right? Because then you get the classic combo, right? The both dexterity, you can basically do Gloom Stalker has this advantage in the beginning of the fight, and you're a rogue, so you get like a bunch of combos there. And lastly though, this is not the best build actually. The best one is actually Fighter, okay? But it's kind of the same thing. And then you take in the Fighter, okay? The Fighter's even better. This is a Fighter Rogue Ranger. This is one of the few really good triple classes, guys. So the point is to have the exact same idea, right, as Rogue Ranger doing a lot of damage immediately fight. Then you have 2 levels of Fighter for the last 2 levels in the game. And because then you can do the Fighter Surge thing, right? So then you can do like, what is like 8 attacks? You can do like so many attacks with an advantage that if you combine those 3 classes, actually one of the best classes in the game. It's actually probably over here, honestly. And then you can like kill every boss basically immediately. Like, this is an amazing build, okay? But you really have like, this weird thing. So for this build, you need at least 2 fighter. You need more fight than that. You need 3 in Ranger and the rest in Rogue. We can kind of spec a little bit differently with Rogue and Ranger, but basically it's like 2, 3, and then the rest in Rogue. Then you have this like amazing, like, you know, 100, 200 damage, 300 damage immediately in the fight starts. And it is by far the best Ranger Rogue kind of thing in the game. And also if you're playing the Ranger, you also have to basically spec this spec because there's nothing else good for Ranger either. Like Ranger Monk or whatever. No, it's terrible. So this is spec, guys. You can also otherwise, I mean, play Rogue Fighter. It's pretty okay as well, right? Just Rogue Fighter, that Ranger, but it's just way worse. It is straight up way worse than the Ranger combo into it. So I don't see why you would do that. But yeah, you can play that one as well. I guess you can take it up as Fighter. This here should be Fighter Rogue, I think. So if you take this one here and like maybe put it like here somewhere, to stand difference here. This is Rogue Ranger Fighter. This is Fighter Rogue only, no Ranger. Yeah, this is way worse, way worse. Okay, so now we're on Druid. So Druid is basically trash with everything. I just don't think that Druid, you know, really fits. I already talked about it here, right? Druid Cleric or a Cleric Druid is like okay, but I do think there should rather be, should you be Druid or should you be Cleric? I mean, my idea is that this thing here is like pure Druid is better, but you should probably high level. I don't know. I mean, whatever. Like Cleric Druid, it's pretty bad. It's just not that good, okay? And I don't think that you should really, you know, Druid should be Druids, right? Druid Monk. There's actually like, you can actually play Druid Monk, I think, to some extent. You play it's like an animal, yeah, this is like an animal form thing, okay. This actually might be better, this is very specific then. Druid Monk, bear form, fisting, okay, that is actually somewhat playable. This is like better than, perhaps better than that. You can actually also play like Druid Fighter and so on too, of course, but I think it's weaker than normal Druid. Druid Paladin is terrible. Druid Beast, I guess a little bit combo there. You know, you have a lot of animals, you summon that, you have the beast thing. It's not like, it's not very good. It's probably like, maybe it's weaker, maybe, I don't know, it's like not very powerful. Druid Rogue, you have a cat form, so it's powerful. Druid Sorcerer Build, Druid Warlock, yeah. I mean, Druid I really think is like only mostly viable with like themselves. There are maybe some more than the master I don't think about right now, but I think I had mentioned earlier, right? Druid Barbarian is like the no-brainer, really powerful. Then you have like the Druid, you can also play Druid Fighter. I guess you can also be Druid Fighter. It's like a decent thing. Where did I leave that one? I guess you can put it up here if you have Druid Monk up there, which is not very good, but like it's playable. Yeah, I guess we have to have. These are like, I'm like, whatever. Let's go on. Let's go. I'm like, whatever. Fighter, okay. Fighter. We already covered Fighter a lot of time. I think it's Fighter. You should get the whole of concept of you can have 2-level Fighter, right? You can basically play Fighter with almost everyone, right? Fighter is the jack of all trades for physical stuff, right? So it means that you can be, you know, Fighter Paladin, you can be Fighter Rogue, you can be, you know, Fighter Ranger. You can basically always be Fighter with any other physical class, just how that class works. And you can also be the meta mentioned, right? Wizard Fighter is very powerful, right? 10-2 and so on. But those symbols, I'm thinking we're doing later, right? We have the Wizard 10, so yeah, I mean, obviously you want to be more Wizard than you be Fighter. So it's not, so if you step this thing here, which would mean that you're more Fighter than Wizard, that is terrible. So you don't want to be that one, that one is trash. But the other one, which is this one, right? This one is very powerful. We'll talk about that later because we saw that, but yeah, that one's very powerful. So it's a little interesting. Which classes are good then? You can definitely play Fighter Ranger, okay? It's not the best combo. It's kind of similar to the other one. It's definitely the worst without the Rogue. But I mean, it's like a mid. Yeah, it's like, you know, fairly similar to those ones. So it's playable. Obviously, Fighter Barbarian is definitely pretty strong. Is it weaker than Barbarian Fighter? Hard to say. I think they're roughly the same, you know. It is hard to say that they're roughly the same strength. You can definitely, I think that, you know, if you go like 6-6 or 9-3 or whatever, you can definitely spec around here. They're very, you know, the combination of how many levels you want per class there, it depends on like, do I really want to be more tanky, running more DPS, or do I have this thing? Yeah, so it's like, it's a little bit depending on your team and so on, right? It's hard to say which is the best one there. Yeah, hard to say which is the best specs there. So they're very equal, yeah, but they're pretty good. And they're one of the most natural combos in the game. Then of course you have Fighter Barb is playable. You know, it's like arguably better even than this pure class. I put that somewhere there. Yeah, Fighter Rogue, similar to Rogue Fighter, which is really good. It's again somewhat playable, you know, it's like not super bad. Fighter Paladin is bad. That's Fighter Druid is not very good at all. It's Fighter, and then we have Fighter Monk, which also is like, there is some cool Fighter Monk combos. So I think I probably have to put them actually higher. This spec, but well, it's mostly probably fight. Yeah, okay. So let's put this one like here, maybe, and then you have. We come to Monk sooner, but I would say Monk Fighter is actually pretty good. So that's better. It's better than Fighter Monk, yeah. So let's put that one. And then we have Fighter Paladin, which likewise to, you know, the other ones are also like decent. So Fighter is like, Fighter is like, oh, you can play Fighter with everything. It's pretty decent, yeah. Not the best, you know, and then Fighter Warlocks. Okay, now we have the Monk, right? So the Monk's interesting. Works very well with the Barbarian. This is like a classic combo, right? This is bugged, I believe, in the game, but A very classic D&D combo, which I have played more than once actually in a real D&D session, right? Is of course when you play down Barbarian and Monk, or vice versa. I used to play Monk first. I used to start with Monk and then go into Barbarian. So the way it works, right? I mean, it's kind of obvious that basically you have, you know, the unarmed buff, right? So both these classes are benefiting, right, having no armor, right? So, you know, you're scaling up your stuff, right? So in that way, they're naturally a good combo. Now, they're also both like punchy stuff, right? So you can have like a raging monk, right, going up there, punching harder with damage reduction, right? So actually, it's one of the best combos in the game, probably. I don't think it's on the level of like Cleric Monk, right, which is like very defensive and very good support, so on. But I think it actually is one of the best combos, probably. Yeah, Monk Barbarian. It definitely is a pretty strong combo. But I believe it's bugging in the game, because I tried it in my third playthrough and I don't think it worked. Like, and I googled it up and people say it wasn't counting correctly, but it should work the two unarmed stuff. Or maybe it's a bug or something. But I haven't actually played the game for a while on that playthrough on my half orc monk. That's also why I stopped playing it. Yeah, I got pissed off, you know. I started a new playthrough, so another character. I was like, what? What doesn't work? Yeah, I was like, no, this should work. I was like, this should work. I was like, because I went with that multiclass very early, you know. I went there very early. I was like level 3 or something. Yeah, it's a multiclass thing. I was like, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I stopped playing it. But okay, so that's pretty decent. And then, I mean, it doesn't really work. Monk is like a weird class, right? I don't think it works very well with anything else. But it basically is like, yeah, okay, good with Cleric. It has dexterity, so I guess you can argue like Monk Rogue is like okay-ish. I don't think it's very good, but they have the same stat. And but the thing is, like, Monk Ranger doesn't really combo well, right? It's like the most melee guy, a short melee with long range. It's like, nah, it doesn't really work. I mean, arguably you can play like, you summon your beast and so on, but nah, it's not worth it. But it's just not worth it, you know. But the other ones, yeah, like the going in there, punching stuff. It's like decent, you know. It's decent. But the other ones, no, not really. So let's go on. Okay, so now we have the Paladin, you know, one of my favorite classes. So the Paladin obviously then works with a lot of classes, right? We talked about it earlier, but, you know, yeah, like Bard Paladin, very powerful, or vice versa. I don't think it really matters too much if you're playing Paladin, Bard, or, you know, Bard Paladin. I guess arguably you want to have more levels in Paladin, probably, but it doesn't really matter. So they're roughly equally good. Again, I have a hard time saying if you should be more 6-7. I guess you slightly want to be more Paladin Bard. So I guess arguably I would say this is slightly better, I guess, if that really matters, but whatever. But you got a point. Paladin Barbarian, not a super good combo, right, with the whole armor thing and so on. But, you know, again, it's like, okay, you have some armor, some shield instead, and you reduce it. I think it's like somewhere here. It's like kind of like the level of these guys. It's probably actually better than this. This is probably the worst combo of these ones. It's somewhere there. Doesn't really matter. It's like okay, you know, it's like decent. Of course, it's terrible. Then we have the Paladin Cleric instead, which also I guess is like weaker than just being a Paladin. Yeah, but it's playable. Paladin Ranger doesn't work at all. No, Paladin Fighter definitely works. It's probably strike. Yeah, it's over here. Yeah, it's not the best synergy, but of course they're both strength and they kind of combine. So I mean, it works. It works, but it's not like the best thing. It's slightly better, I guess, than being Fighter. Yeah, I would say so. I would say it's better having more levels in Paladin than having levels in Fighter. So it's slightly better than Fighter Paladin. Definitely. And then we have Paladin Monk, really work. Paladin Ranger. That's like whatever, next class. Oh yeah, and lastly we have like Paladin Sorcerer. Sorcerer Paladin. This is pretty powerful. This is over up here, I think. Yeah, so you're like a tanky Paladin. I think this is here, probably? It's hard to say exactly, but yeah, so you're a Paladin, right? Mostly Paladin. Then you also have a bunch of like Sorcerer spells. You can also play, it's similar, of course, to the Warlock Paladin. I think they're roughly the same. I think they're kind of the same. The Sorcerer Paladin, it's better, but they're roughly, they're kind of the same thing, right? You know, you have like a tanky, obviously they're both, all of them are charismatic, so they have the skill the same thing. So you have a Paladin, they're gonna lack some of their later skills, but instead you have more like a spell DPS, right? And if you play the Warlock, you can, you know, push them off with the added blast. You play the Sorcerer, you get the haste buff or whatever, depending on what levels take. So it's like, you know, it's decent. It's not like the best in the game, but I think it's actually probably one of the stronger combos as well, right? Yeah. But Paladin actually do have a lot of good combos with the Paladin Warlock as well. So the Ranger then, right? The Ranger is basically not playable with anyone. I mean, yeah, Ranger isn't very powerful. Ranger is hard to multiclass. Obviously, ready to cover it, right? But the Ranger and the Rogue is like really powerful. And I rated it as number 1, right? The Rouge Ranger Paladin. I guess I put it next here then, symbolize that. Yeah, it's very, very powerful. And then you put in the Fighter there, so that is like the no-brainer thing. And I guess I hit the Ranger Fighter, put it like somewhere here. Yeah, it's stronger than these ones, so I probably put it like here, probably. Yeah, Ranger Fighter. But I mean, like I said earlier, right? You know, you want to have it's the combination of those, right? You want to have the Ranger into it. Yeah, it's so much better. But yeah, that's a very good combo for Ranger. And then everything else is trash. Everything else is like unplayable. Nothing else really combos. But I think that Ranger is a good example of kind of like the D&D, right? Or that people complain about Baldur's Gate 3. I think they have a point when it comes to Ranger. Because, I mean, the Ranger, you know, guys. The Ranger, it doesn't really benefit. I think that's slightly right. But the Ranger is like a weird class because it's dexterity, of course, and it's like the only range dexterity. I mean, obviously the Ranger, right? Yeah, but that means it doesn't really combine with anyone else. It obviously combines very well with the Rogue. I mean, talk about it, but then there's like Ranger Monk doesn't really work, right? And Ranger and any spellcaster is pointless because you lose out the puzzle spells. You can't combine those stats. So that to me feels very aged, right? Even if I know D&D 5 is younger, but probably my point, I do feel that the Ranger, if this game was released today, I think the Ranger would be different, you know, or maybe it would be more classes that would work range. I don't know, but it feels weird. I mean, obviously the game has a lot of range classes, but it's like, yeah, why have, you know, like it's just to me it's weird, right? You know, to me it's weird. In a way, it does feel like a legacy thing from a game design standpoint. Like it probably should be what it is. But the weird is now then the Ranger is, I think, like I said earlier, a very strong class. But you need to combine as a multi-class if you combine it with like the Fighter Rogue thing. Yeah, but nothing else works. Yeah, but everything else is terrible. But those are like really powerful, and the rest is like really bad. Like probably even like the worst trash. We don't really care about, you know, like ordering the trash, right? But yeah, like Ranger, Warlock, whatever, all of this is terrible, right? So it's kind of like really terrible. I mean, I'm rather, you know, like a Paladin Monk than I'm a Ranger Warlock, you know what I mean? So this is like, if you have like layer of trash, if you have like trash level 3 or something, trash, bottom trash, garbage, then Ranger basically will be, most Ranger multi-class will be like the bottom, right? Not necessarily the worst of all class multi-combos, but it definitely be down there. The other classes are, yeah, some of them are slightly better. Okay, sorry, I get it now. This tier list here has another class to think about. So the sword going down, I was like, I said Rogue, right, you know? I was like thinking this was Rogue, you know, because it's like a sword. Now that's Blood Hunter, apparently, in this thing. This, of course, is the Rogue. I mean, I see the thing now, I mean, oh yeah, that has to be the Rogue with the mask, right? I get it now, god damn it. Now I feel too lazy to fix this thing, but yeah. But I was like, oh yeah, god damn it. That is the Rogue, of course, with the mask going down with a sword. The other sword is more class that the game doesn't have. God damn it. Let me fix that thing now. Okay, so I fixed the list, I think. Yeah, I had a wrong symbol there, like whatever. It's like the thing with the sword going down, but now I fixed it, guys. Now it was correct here. Lastly then, Rogue Monk is like decent, I guess. It's like super good. It's like a mid. So I put it somewhere up here. I mean, it's playable, same primary stats. You can kind of stealth them and then, you know, do the monk ambush attack. You do a lot of burst. There's here, yeah, a lot of burst damage, but I don't think it's very good. It's like the mid thing. Anyway, where were we? We're going to Sorks. Sorcerer then, of course. Powerful spellcaster class, right? Not very useful, as you can expect, with most of the physical classes. so you can kind of like just ignore just here. It's kind of very sad, right? You know, with the sorcerer, we've been over it, right? The sorceress combines, of course, then pretty well with other charisma, right? We talked about earlier, but yeah. So you got the sorcerer paladin. I think paladin sorcerer is better. So if you have, definitely say so. So is paladin sorcerer, that one. Yeah, this is pretty fair. So I would say it's like one tier under that. It's better having more paladin levels than sorcerer levels, right? But they're a pretty good combo, but it's better this way. And then we have what's called Coffeezilla, which is very popular. This is a very powerful class. This is probably somewhere up here, I think. You can read about the time. Basically, right, you're playing the sorcerer with the warlock. So first of all, they're both charisma, right? Which of course we know is like the best thing, right? And then warlock can regain their spells, right, by having a short rest, and they can use this faster and so on. So they can get up the spells quicker. They're more spammable, right? And then the sorcerer can use their what's called sorcery points, right, to regain their spells and so on, right, and also do other like twisting, turning, and so on. Right? So if you combine these two classes, you can basically use spam stuff. Yeah, it's like the spam class, right? You can basically you can always very easily get your spells back. I think one thing that makes this class so good too, arguably the best class in the game, think about it, I almost put it the best for them actually, is that I think that a lot of tier lists, and best classes, they don't think about, I would say, too much the journey, right? Yeah, I would say this is probably the best classes in the game, like this. As you can see it here. Yeah, but it's like, because I think too many of these lists, right, people make, yeah, they don't care about the journey. The Warlock Sorcerer is really powerful then, because you can spam all the spells, combine them and so on, right? But it's also probably the best multi-class to be. See what I mean? To be while you're playing the game, right? Because, other video talking about the tier list and wizard and so on. This is the best spellcaster to spam stuff all the time. This is the most efficient spellcaster combo definitely in the game while you're leveling, right? And you only need I think 2 levels of Warlock, maybe it's 3, but you don't need that many levels of Warlock. Like 2 levels, and you get the Eldritch Blast improvements. The next level you get stuff, yeah. So you get, but when you level up, I would say 2 levels Warlock, right, and then you go full Sword, and it's like really powerful, and you can spam stuff, and it's again very powerful during those mid levels, right? Like level 6, level 7. I mean, kind of Act 2 right into Act 3, where some of the other builds are perhaps stronger late game. And maybe that's true, right? I don't necessarily think that Coffee Lock is the best, strongest class at level 12, but it probably is the best class while leveling as a multi-class. And you don't level 12 that long anyway. And it also is powerful level 12. But still, yeah, the Rogue is also very powerful. Yeah, the Rogue Fighter Ranger is like incredibly powerful on level 12 though. So it's a little bit up there, but yeah, I think maybe it is the best class in the game. A little leveling, I think easily if you count in. And for me, this is like a tier list, right? I look a little bit like what is the best class. Slightly also again like when you're also adventuring only on level 12, right? Because it's funny if you play multiplayer. Like how long are you level 12? You know what I mean? Well, yeah, level 3 you get Fiend Warlock. Yeah, it's like usually 3. It's like 9-3 or like 3-9, but I believe it's the best combo. But yeah, again, 9 Sorceress and then 3 Warlocks. Then you can play like Sorcerer Bard. It's similar to Paladin. It's charisma stuff. It's actually pretty okay, I think. It's probably like some mid. Yeah, this is the same thing there. It's probably slightly, slightly weaker than the other ways in the round. This doesn't work at all. Doesn't work either. Most classes don't really combine. You can play the sword wizard, spamming stuff. But this is kind of in this game I feel like. So sorcerer wizard, you can combine that, but does it make it better? Like, does it make it better having more spells and so on, and lacking the top spells? I don't think it does, because they don't share the same primary. So if you combine sorcerer and wizard, which is still like playable, I guess, but I think it's weaker than just being, max wizard or max sorcerer. Like it's like the benefit is less than just being one of the classes. Where again, then the warlock is sorted together. it's actually a really good combo, right? So even if you have like weaker spells, you have way more spells, right, of the lower stuff and so on. So you actually like gain from that. You can also combine more stuff. But yeah, I don't really see too much of that, so I don't think that's very good. So that's a Warlock then. So Warlock is interesting because you can play Warlock. Warlock has one of these like weird builds when you play like Monk Warlock and you run up and fight them and so on, and melee and stuff like that. But Warlock is pretty good for melee. It's like in my latest Warlock play, as a companion build then, I use him for like Eldritch Blast, teleporting, killing, right? So I teleport him around and I expect only on pushing them with Eldritch Blast, right? And I fetching it. So I go in there, I have infinite, you know, like, or infinite, but as much as I can, right? Teleport and pushing. And then I try to push everyone down, for example, right? So Warlock has a lot of this like weird stuff. Then you have the, but you also have the whole the armor and so on, right? Which are pretty defensive. So they do work with this like weird combo of like Warlock Fighter, Warlock Monk, a little bit Warlock Barbarian and so on, right? But they're not as powerful. So Warlock is good in that sense, and you can also combine them then again with like the Sorcerer or the Paladin and so on, right? So definitely work like that. But if you start here with Warlock, like Warlock Ranger is terrible, right? So I can remove immediately. And Warlock Druid was terrible, and Warlock Cleric is terrible. So you can start by throwing out some really bad stuff, okay, immediately. Now then, we have Warlock Wizard, which I think is straight at worse, again, right, than being just, you know, being a Warlock or a Wizard. That's not a good combo. But Warlock Sorcerer, of course, talked about earlier. So, but I think it's weaker, you know. Like I said earlier, I think it's weaker than being Sorcerer Warlock. So I put it here. I think it's like definitely the weaker combination, right? But it still is like a very good combo. It's one of the best combo with Warlocks from like a normal playthrough. Then you have this like Warlock fist guy punching them, which is pretty powerful. But I think it's as strong as this one. I'll put it here. You got the Warlock Paladin, which is pretty powerful, pushing around. But I think that the Paladin Warlock, which is there, is stronger. So again, I think it's better being Paladin more so than Warlock, right? So you want to be like higher level in Paladin, lower level in Warlock. But you know, the other direction also works, right? What's that? It's like Warlock Rogue is terrible. And then Warlock Fighter is also like doable, right? Comparable. But it's kind of again here in the, you know, yeah, and it's like Fighter meets things. I put it here. Warlock Bard, definitely playable. You got the charisma, you got the buffs, you can do some stuff. It's strong. I probably put it in good. It's stronger than this one, not as good one. And then lastly, Warlock Barbarian, also kind of playable. Not as good as the Warlock Fisting and so on. So it's probably somewhere in my mid tier there. Okay, then lastly, baby, Wizard, okay? They're all trash, of course. You hate Wizards. Wizards are very good with Fighter. These are kind of the best bits of the game. This is the straight up probably the best multi-class of Wizards. I put it probably somewhere here, probably. So Wizard Fighter is really, really good, right? So what you do is that, it's forward. Talked about earlier, right? And if you go to different, you know, websites for tier lists and so on, right? You're gonna see this thing a lot. It is very, very good. Basically, you take the Wizard, maximize it right as much as you can. Then you get 2 levels in Fighter, and then what you can do, of course, is that you can use the Fighter's activated ability at level 2, active search, whatever you call it, action search, right? And you get more actions. So this is, again, I keep saying it, Fighter level 2 works with like everyone, right? Because you can also, this is a powerful ability, especially on boss fights where you rest before and go in there, you're full rested right now. But of course you can like do a rest between and so on. But yeah, like, it's so powerful when you come in there, fully stated, right? Again, that is why, you know, the Rogue Ranger Fighter is better. This thing here, right? Rogue Ranger Fighter is better than just being Ranger Rogue, right? Which is here, so it probably should be like here actually. Yeah, but anyway, you get my point, because like I said, right, Ranger Rogue, very powerful combo. Like then Rogue and Ranger are great classes, right? Otherwise they're terrible basically in late game. But that combo, very powerful. But like I keep saying, right, but it's better having less levels in those two, getting that 2 levels of Fighter, and now you have this like insane, you know, level 1, right? It's like, I do 8 attacks, you know what I mean? Basically, I go in and back, and then the boss is dead before the fight starts, you know what I mean? Like, and you have initiative plus, you stealthing, so you can basically kill everything before the fight starts. It's very, very powerful. The Wizard Fighter, I would say it's weaker, right? But it's very similar, you know? You go into the fight, and you can do your best spell, and then another one. Yeah, so you throw like 2 amazing spells immediately, right? Or you have even worse for them, I mean for enemies, you're combining 2 spells. I mean, obviously the basic would be grease and then fire, right? Bam, bam. So even on like lower level, honestly, you know, if you start as fighter, well, this is pretty common, you usually are fighting in the beginning, and then you'll be fight into wizard, right? Yeah, already at level like 3, I guess? Yeah, 3, right? I mean, total level, yeah. So like 2-1. Already at level, you can do a grease fireball, right? In the same turn, yeah, and immediately do the fighting. So that is very, very powerful. Actually, it's probably one of the, I would say so, yeah. Fighter Wizard is actually probably one of the stronger, kind of like also mid-tier ranking, right? So I put it probably over here, yeah. It's very, very powerful. I mean, I guess it's like more powerful than those 2, but not as good as this one. Yeah, this is pretty fair. Maybe stronger than, I don't think it's strong as Concealer. But it's like somewhere here, you know. It's definitely in the top tier as well, right? Yeah. Definitely in the top tier as well, the Wizard thing. That being said, though, people usually play Fighter, right? And then Wizard. But like I said earlier, I prefer this thing. I think it's easy to read, understand, right? That you're going to be 10, you know, 2. Yeah, so you're much more wizardly than you are a fighter. But yes, most players, they will start as fighter and then go into wizard. So actually it's the opposite, right? But again, I think it's like only 2 levels in fighter, then the rest of wizard. I think it's easier to understand that it's like wizard into fighter. It's easy to understand. The couple of things, but I think it's better. But anyway, amazing. This is by far the best fighter multiclass. I think like undisputably this is the best. Wizard. Yeah, best wizard multiclass. I don't think any other multiclass wizard is like remotely as good as this one, right? Not at all. Wizard also have this weird thing, right, where their intelligence, as you keep seeing in this list here, you know, like, well, yeah, a bunch of guys got charisma or so on. Yeah, they don't really have that much. Like, you know, we talked about it earlier, right? You know, like the Warlock, Sorcerer, both with charisma, right? They're both spellcasters. They're obviously both gonna be a better combo from like a baseline, right, than Wizard with either of them, right? Because they're all 3 spellcasters, like aggressive spellcasters, right? Mostly, you know, offensive spells or whatever. Yes, they have some tricks and so on, but again, mostly like DPS. But 2 of them are based on one stat, and the third one is based on another thing. Yeah, that third one is never really gonna come into them. So, of course, the other wizard combos is weaker. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious, right? You know, wizard Warlock and wizard is weaker than taking any of those 2 and combining them, right? This is obviously better. It's obviously better not playing that. And what more do you have? Like Wizard Ranger is really terrible. It's like unplayable, right? Wizard Rogue is terrible. Wizard Paladin is like, I guess, less actually, but still trash. This is Wizard. Wizard Druid is very good either. You can play Wizard. I guess a Wizard Druid is like playable, I suppose. You play like spellcast. This actually is like comparably to the other ones. Wizard Druid is like not the worst, but I think it's pretty bad. Wizard Barbarian is really terrible. That is not good. I mean, I think it's very hard to see Wizard being good with any other class. But to be fair, I think you can play like Wizard and Wizard Warlock. I think they're both like playable. But this is kind of like, especially late game, it's like, okay, but aren't you rather use Wizard, right? And you rather level 12 Wizard, I would say, than doing the other 2. Like, it doesn't benefit you that much. But so I think this one is weaker than the normal baseline class, but they're still playable. You get more options. They're not as trashy as like Wizard Ranger, which is like completely useless. you get a pet, I guess. Yeah, but like, I mean, yeah, Wizard Rogue or something. Like, it's really trash, right? Wizard Warlock isn't trash. It's just bad. It's like weak but playable. I think that's very fair. Wizard Monk has a little more options, I guess. Actually, isn't that? I think there are some combos there. There might be someone that's bringing out some crazy combo dombo there. Monk is interesting because Monk, like I said earlier, right? Like Monk Warlock, you know, Monk Priest. There are some Monk stuff that's crazy, but Monk is an interesting class in the game that you have some builds and it really... I have to say that I have to explore it more myself, you know, to really... Some of the best monks there. Wizard Cleric is actually somewhat playable, right? Then you have a little more spell. I think that I would say is better than the other ones. Yeah, that is more healing wizard. And honestly, I guess Wizard Druid, if I lift it up, then fine. In the same reasoning, I suppose Wizard Druid is slightly better. So you come in there and heal and so on, it's slightly better, but it's not very good. And then lastly, Wizard Bard makes it either. That is the tier list, guys. Here you see the perfect tier list, guys. So let's do the quick summary, guys. I hope you guys like the video, please subscribe and so on, right? But yeah, let's do the quick look here, right? So, top, Warlock, Sorcerer, very, very good. Rogue, Fighter, Ranger, right? So it's more about the Ranger Rogue thing. As you can see, the older Ranger Rogue in the top, but very, very powerful. But the best combination of Ranger Rogue is Ranger Rogue 2-level Fighter. It's like the strongest initiation start in the whole game. Then Wizard 10, Fighter 2 is amazing. We can do double spell immediately. Very, very powerful. Then Druid, you know, it's little Barbarian Frenzy. Incredibly powerful animal, right? For a face rolling, of course, Paladin Bard or Bard Paladin. This is the best NPC guy. And then you have, you know, Cleric Monk, right? You know, very, very powerful for healing, surviving, and so on, right? The second layer, you know, Fighter Barbarian, works pretty well together, of course. Another, you know, Monk Cleric, like more aggressive Monk Cleric, also very powerful. Another version of the whole Rogue Fighter thing, right? Slightly version of that. And then you have different Paladin stuff that are pretty powerful, like Paladin Sorcerer, Paladin Warlock. Like the spell casting Paladin, also charismatic, quite powerful. There is some, of course, a classic Barbarian Monk combo, right? And then a bunch of like Warlock, you know, with other charisma, similar to, you know, like the Paladin. And then the rest is trash. the rest is trash. That is like, I guess you can play this good stuff. Then you got meat, and then everything else is shit. Yeah, that is like, I guess this is playable. And then it's like, oh my god, this is terrible. You can see this list here. I mean, I think this is very accurate. It's like, yeah, you got, you know, like 20 or so, maybe like 10 really good stuff here, I guess. Like something like 10 or so that's like playable, and then it's like 80 stuff that's just terrible. There's a very accurate list of multiclass in D&D. I mean, I think the last guys, right? D&D is a lot about traps in that sense, right? And I understand, right? I haven't read about it. For example, the Polygon review of this game, she hates the game. Oh, it's so hard, you know, the one. You know, people love this game, right? For many reasons. Why is it people love this game? It's similar to Elden Ring. And when I mean similar to Elden Ring, weird similar is freedom, right? In Elden Ring, it's like, I just want to go over there, and you go over there, right? In this game, it's like, I just want to throw grease in this guy's face or push him down the rock and, you know, whatever. And it works, you know? It's the freedom, right, that makes people really like it. So, when it comes to the multiclassing, or leveling in general, especially the multiclassing, the game, you know, was very free. But it also means, you said that Polygon art, it's like, oh, it's the worst game ever, it's so hard. It also means that the game allows you, right, to do a lot of mistakes too, which I, of course, really enjoy. I think every game should be this, right, where the player can do a bunch of mistakes too, especially in this game, because it's so cheap to respec. I mean, if you play your character, right, and you try some weird, like, oh, I'm gonna be Druid, and then I'm gonna go into something that doesn't work, I'm gonna be Druid, Wizard, and it's like really bad, whatever, you can pretty cheaply respec in this game. It's only very early in the game, you can't afford many respecs, and the respecs are, it's a flat cost, right? You know, in some games, respec keeps costing more and more per level, right? Or per time you do it. But in this game, it's like a flat fee, right? If someone dies, it's a flat fee, 100, 200 gold. So it's actually, I don't think, that hard. I mean, obviously, it should be way harder, right? You know, many games don't allow respecing, right? Or have some weird, you have to get this item and so on, you know. So this game actually has to be straightforward. But otherwise, obviously, the game is very unforgiving in the sense that you can absolutely make a bunch of really trash multiclasses that doesn't work, right? Yeah. But I love it in the game because you play it in a video game and everything is, you know, yeah, it's great because, yeah, it's like 80% is trash and it's up to you, the player, right, to figure it out, you know what I mean? That being said, too, because the game allows you to do multiclassing in a very open way, of course, it means you might come up with some crazy combo, right? that people haven't tried, or maybe the game engineer or the game designer or whatever didn't think about right. So it might be like an exploit that is very powerful, or it's just straight up like like in the design, it's a feature so to speak, but still very, very broken or whatever, right? So it also opens up for that, but I think it's great to know. What do you guys think was your favorite multi-class, right? But I think I kind of covered the most good ones, right? And almost like I said earlier, going in and talking about these weaker ones. Oh yeah, like Druid Paladin, yeah, that's pretty terrible, yeah. Whatever, like they're all terrible. Yeah, but you have to like really specify it, right? It's rather that this is why this thing works, right? Like Druid Barbarian, it works because of this reason. Then everything else doesn't work. It's more like that, right? But anyway, guys, see you and have a great day.